Good evening, everyone. So, guys, this is another one of my series with you guys where we talk about how do you perform better in exams, right? So, every week we are covering a new topic, a minor strategy, a small strategy, or a big strategy which helps you really do better at your final exams, because we want you to completely ace your final exams and get the best scores possible, right? So today we are going to be talking about, well, here, how to solve mock papers and previous year question papers efficiently. So many question papers to solve, etc. Let's learn some techniques. Let's revise some things about why these things are important. None of this is rocket science. We all know this. We've heard about it, but it's important that at these last few days just before the final exams, we keep these things in mind and sort of tailor our preparation to keep these things within our control, and to make sure that whatever we are doing it efficiently, because we have less time. We have only a limited number of days towards our final exams, and we just want to make sure that our strategies that we are using for preparation are efficient, right? Yes, nice to see you all as well. Yes, nice, great, good to see you all. Now tell me, how many of you followed the FIFA World Cup? How many of you know who won the World Cup? Yeah, are there any Messi fans here? Argentina, yes, Argentina won the World Cup. Any Messi fans here? Messi versus Ronaldo. Tell me, who's a Messi fan, who's a Ronaldo fan? Messi is clearly seems to be winning the race here, winning the poll here. Okay, Mbappe as well. Yes, he's one of my favorite players. Sure. Yeah, Ronaldo with a big crying face. It's all right. He's still a champion, right? So players like Messi, Mbappe, Ronaldo. Tell me, when these guys are not playing World Cup matches or playing for their respective football leagues, etc., what do they do? How do they practice? Do they just go to the gym, hit the gym, and just keep themselves fit, or do they do something else also? How do they practice? All right, you said practice, drills. How do they practice? Apart from practicing by themselves, apart from sitting in the team, discussing strategies, how do they really practice? Yes, planning, staying hydrated, staying fit. All of these are important for us as well when we are writing our final exams, right? Mock matches with the team, training matches between themselves. That is a very important strategy that these guys follow, right? It's not just about staying fit. It's not just about solo practicing. It is not just about practicing with their team, but actually going out there and playing some friendly matches. That is so important to get into the mindset of the game. Yes or no? So if these world-class players are doing this, why not us? If we want to be at the top of our game, if we want to ace our exams as well, we also have to play these practice matches. And what are these practice matches before final exams? What are these practice matches? Yes, mock papers, sample papers, past papers, PYQs. Yes, all of this. All of these are our practice matches to make sure that when we hit the ground on that finale, on that final day, we come out in flying colors and we win all the trophies, right? So today we will talk about this strategy in detail. We will try to understand what is the purpose of writing mock papers, what are the key goals that we should have when writing mock papers, and how to go about making sure that we are achieving those goals. All right. Now, yes, we get confidence, right? KP tests, Dipanjali, very good. I'm proud of you, right? So there are two main purposes of solving mock papers, guys. What are the two main goals of solving mock papers? Can you tell me main goals? Okay, I'll tell you the main goals, but then we will get into the details of those main goals. So every mock paper that you write is supposed to do two things for you. One is it should boost our subject knowledge. All right, we should get better in the subject with every additional paper that we write, and we will try and understand how to go about doing that, how to make sure that we are not just writing paper after paper after paper after paper, but not really improving significantly. We have to show significant improvement, right? If you are making the same mistakes over and over again after writing 3 papers, 4 papers, 5 papers, it does not make sense. So every paper should boost our subject knowledge. But there's something else also every paper should boost. Can you tell me what else is that? Time management, confidence. Very good, Afif. Mental state during exam. Yes, it should boost your exam writing skills. It should boost your overall exam taking skills. All right, exam taking skills consists of multiple components, and we will talk about each one of these today. But very important, remember, mock papers are not only to improve your subject knowledge, which is a purpose they must achieve, but also to make you better at actually writing exams, right? So subject knowledge and exam taking skills both should improve when you solve mock papers. Okay, so I'll break these 2 skills down into 5 different purposes of writing mock papers, and I want you to tell me one by one which of them is a subject knowledge boosting purpose and which of these is an exam skill. All right, so let's go through these. So purposes of solving mock papers and PYQs. Number 1, time management. We all got to know how much time to spend on questions. First few questions, lowest marks questions, higher mark questions, etc. All of these things have to be kept in mind. So tell me, is that an exam skill or a subject knowledge skill? Abdul says, sir, are the mock papers supposed to be difficult or is it only for our branch? Abdul, the mock papers are supposed to be more or less realistic but slightly more difficult than your regular school exams. Understand this, there's a lot of learning loss that has taken place during COVID. We all know that. We all have suffered a little bit in the last 2 to 3 years during the pandemic. And the impact of that is that your school teachers are also forced to make papers slightly easier for you guys. Does that help you? Well, they are trying to make sure that you don't completely lose your confidence, but at the same time, it's important to remember that your competition is much bigger than just the students in your school. We all are aiming to get into top colleges, right? There, the competition is intense. So we cannot make the papers too easy because you're not going to be evaluated on very easy papers. All right. So we're trying to give you a feel of the real world when we give you the papers at KP. Yes. So coming back to the point, yes, time management is an exam skill. We all got to know, we all got to get an idea that, for the first few minutes, I'm just reviewing the paper. For the first 3, 4, 5 minutes, I'm not in a hurry to start writing because I'm under so much stress, because I've not done it before. I'm under that stress and I start immediately scribbling on the paper and then I realize, oh my God, I've made some mistakes, etc. We don't want any of that to happen. We want to have a calm state of mind. So when you're going to be writing mock papers, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? How are you going to improve your time management skills? Can someone tell me? Yes, put a timer and practice. It's very important. So when you solve mock papers, one thing which you must do is time yourself. You do not need to do it at home. You're a KP student. You come to KP and you sincerely write the mock papers. Start on time, write like a real paper. and finish on time as well. Like you're writing an actual exam. You have to show that commitment and passion towards that paper like you're writing an actual exam. That will help condition your body and mind to get into that state. All right. So when you would have written enough sample papers like a real exam, on the day of the exam, you'll be far more controlled because you would have already gone through that process multiple times. So every time you write a mock paper diligently and within the given time frame, your time management skills are going to improve. What is number 2? Presentation skills. A lot of us do not understand that presentation skills are super important. I'll be doing a separate session on this shortly. I think maybe next week or next to next week we'll do a session specifically on presentation skills. Guys, presentation skills are super important in order to score good marks in exams. Right? Is this an exam skill or is it a subject knowledge skill? Yes, it's an exam skill, right? So many of us, what do? We get the paper, we start writing immediately, tuck, and then we're like, oh my god, I made a mistake, and then we're like scribbling it off, and I'm like, okay, you put a star on it, and then you say, okay, after question number 16, your teacher goes to question number 16, there is nothing, there's 2 stars, all right, and after those 2 stars, it says after question number 20, the whole paper is a what is the whole paper? The whole paper is a mess. It's a mess. It's a maze. Yeah, you could call it a maze as well. Yeah, the whole paper is a mess. Is that the way to score marks? Ask any teacher, they will tell you one of the best ways of scoring good marks is to present a good paper to demonstrate. If you present your paper nicely, if you lay it out nicely, if you structure it out properly, if you have less corrections, etc. all over, less scribbling, if you stick to the point, all these things will help you impress the examiner. All right. Like I said, I'll do a separate session dedicated to these things as to how you're going to present your papers, etc. We are all going to brainstorm in that session the things that you will keep in mind when actually attempting your papers. Again, some of us do not take our mock papers that seriously. So we think, you know what? I will do my mock papers, I will time myself, but it's okay, I will not bother so much about neatness, about writing a good paper, about presenting a good paper. And we think on the day of the exam, I'll go and I'll do it, I'll write a better paper. Does it work? Does Messi say, you know, in my practice match, I will not play a good match, but on the day of the final, I will deliver my best game possible? Do you think Messi practices like that? Ronaldo practices like that? Yes or no? No, right? So when they practice, how do they practice? They give it their 100%. So same way, when we write our mock papers and well, we have to bear in mind what are the good presentation skills which we have to keep in mind. If we start doing that regularly when writing mock papers as well, automatically guys, it will develop as a habit for you. It will become second nature to you. You would not even have to try too hard in order to do it because you would have done it so many times, and that's the way you do things. That's how cool you are. That's how awesome you are. Because you don't care whether you're writing a mock paper at home, at KP, in school, or wherever, you write it like it is the last final exam on that day, right? If you start doing that, if you become an excellency driven person like that, you're going to do really well in your final exam as well, because you would not have to try too hard. So keep presentation skills in mind. The third skill is exam temperament. No prizes for guessing whether it's an exam skill or not, but yes, some of you are replying, it is an exam skill, yes, correct. Okay, so Prapti has a question. What if you don't remember an answer and you need to leave space for it? Not required. Prapti, it depends. Now, if you are certain that leaving an X amount of space more or less is more than enough, it's okay. But do not leave too less a space. If you want to follow the order, you do not leave too less a space. Leaving more is always a better idea. What I do not want you to do is start scribbling and then start writing really micro handwriting that your teacher has to use a magnifying glass just to read what you have written in your papers. That is really important. Do not ignore that. Or just leave that place, leave that question, skip that question, and you can pick up that question towards the end of the paper and solve it right at the end. That ways you will keep a neatness and structure to your paper, and in the end you could answer that question. So it's a choice that you have to make. Yes, Abdul, yes, you can write that in the end. Absolutely. So exam temperament is also very important. What is exam temperament? There's so many things in exam temperament. We've already spoken about time management. We've also spoken about presentation skills. It's also about the mental state. It's about how relaxed you are. Guys, if you write enough mock papers and you've done that seriously, your mental state will be much more relaxed. So many of us talk about exam stress. Oh my God, I have exams. I'm stressed out. I tend to forget before the exams. Why does that happen? Why does it not happen to champions that they forget how to play football on the last day of the match? Why? Because they do enough practice beforehand that they develop confidence. If we solve enough papers beforehand, we will not have the nerves or the anxiety which is associated on the day of the exam, right? Your mental state will be far more calm and confident if you have written enough papers. Some of the other exam skills related to exam temperament are, some students, I've seen this so commonly among students. There's always that one student, he's sitting there in the examination hall, it's still 20 minutes to go before the hall, and what do? They close their paper, turn it over, keep their pen, and they sit like this. They sit like King Kong, as if they've already won the race. They think, and everybody else is looking at them. Again, exam temperament. They are thinking, oh my God, this person has already finished the paper. I still have 10 marks paper to go and I do not have enough time. My God, I must be doing something wrong, right? And we get stressed out. Little do we realize that when the actual marks come, this guy has actually failed the paper, whereas you have actually done well. So please, one of exam temperament skills is do not get distracted by others. Do not look at others. Do not worry about why. Do not try to understand and get into other people's brain when you're sitting in the examination hall that, oh, that person is writing fast. She's my competitor. He's going to do better than me, etc. Do not think about all those things. Just focus on doing your paper well. And for God's sake, never, ever leave your paper early. There's no marks. I promise you, and you can ask your teachers, and you know it better than I do, there are no extra marks for finishing the paper early. There is no greatness, there is no coolness in doing that. You are not going to be the cool dude or the cool girl of the school by finishing your paper 15-20 minutes early. It is not wise at all. Rather, I would say it is immature to do that. It's a bad exam strategy to do that. Your job is to make sure that you finish your paper, and then if there are questions, and then revise the paper a couple of times if you have time, and then if there are still some questions left which you could not finish, which you could not attempt, you may think you don't know them, never skip a question. Towards the end, if you sit down with the questions that you could not do, think about one way to solve that question, think about a second way to solve that question, think about whatever comes to your mind. Even if it is a few keywords that come to your mind, even if it is a formula that comes to your mind, write down whatever you can think of, but in a neat, structured way, so that the teacher does not think you're just doing rough work, etc. You've written a proper answer. Give it your 100%. Whichever question you've not been able to do, in the end, you must make sure that until the last minute, you're trying to attempt those questions. In a 5 marks question, what if you could get an extra 1 or 2 marks because you wrote something, right? You You pushed your brain into trying to think, oh my God, maybe my teacher in my school told me something about this topic. Maybe my teachers at KP told me something about this topic. Something or the other should come to your mind, and you have to write that thing down. So do not give up or do not give away the paper too early. No use whatsoever, right? So let me look at some of your questions here. Sir, will we be awarded some marks even if we don't know the exact answer, but we write something related to it? Abdul, if you are writing something related to it and it is making some sense, of course you should get marks, right? You will get part marks, you will get some marks, right? If the teacher sees that you've been sincere, do not write stuff which is completely unrelated. That is not going to help you, right? Or let's say it's a 2 marks question, writing a full page on it is not going to get you marks. It's going to make the teacher think, oh, you know what, this student probably knows nothing about this topic. That is why they've written a full page. Be to the point. If it's a 2 marks question, it deserves the 2 marks kind of an answer. Do not write essays on it. Do not. Some of us do this. We rephrase the same thing over and over again and we keep writing over and over just to fill the space. That is not going to help, right? Keep these small things in mind. But if you know something which is related to it and you can somehow connect it to the answer, to the question, go ahead and take that chance. No harm in trying it. Are you going to get any marks for not writing the answer? No. But if you write something, there's still a chance you might be able to take 1 mark away from the teacher, half a mark, 2 marks, whatever you can take away. Why not, right? So give it your 100% sincerely. Abhijit, in a mathematics paper, is it necessary to make the rough work neat? Well, it always helps. In what happens is so many times you're writing steps, right? In maths specifically, there are plenty of steps in a question and you get marks for every step. Now the problem with presenting a math paper badly is, let us say you did everything correct. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. In step 5, at the last point, it was 121 divided by 11 and you wrote 9, let's say, right? You made a mistake. Now, if your paper is not presented neatly, if your rough work is not done neatly, teacher is not going to be able to make out anything. They're just going to look at your answer and they're going to think you just have not done the question properly, solved the problem properly, and they're going to give you probably a 0, probably a 1 or 2 if you've written the formula. What happens is, if you do your rough work also side by side to the question and you're a little bit neat about it, the teacher can always cross check that, hey, you know what, this child, I can see that they have done the rough work. I can see that their partial answers are correct. Step 1 answer is correct. Step 2 answer is correct. A lot of these things are going right. So where has the child made a mistake? Then the teacher also feels a sincerity in checking your paper to quickly scan through your rough work as well. And chances are you will get better marks. So in maths, it is a good strategy, or in physics numericals or in any other kinds of numericals, it does make sense to do the rough work next to your question itself. Okay. How many sample papers should be solved at a minimum? I am going to talk to you about it in your strategies. Today, I will talk to you in a few minutes on that as well. Should we be revising syllabus now in this time, or should we only be practicing papers? It depends, Dipanjali. Last session of mine, if you have been present, I discussed the OATS strategy and making sure that you have done all the questions properly, you've prepared, you've done your syllabus, if you've done all of that stuff, you can move on to writing only practice papers. But if you feel you have not finished your syllabus, then doing only practice papers is not going to help you. But at the same time, even if you have not finished your syllabus, it's important that you write some practice papers side by side as well. Jeffy, I'm not sure about the question that you asked. I'll have to defer back to your teachers and ask them But I've noted down your name. Shrey sir is here as well. He will respond to you with the answer to that question. Sir, if we are writing the paper in the reverse order, do we solve it in the decreasing order of question numbers itself, or do we solve section wise, like section D, C and so on? Wouldn't solving section wise mess the question papers? Always do not start from the last question. If you want to do the last section first, solve the entire last section first. So if the section D, let's say, starts from question number 26 to 30, instead of starting 30, 29, 28, my recommendation is start from question number 26, finish till 30, write section clearly on top that this is this and this section, and then you move on to the next section. Although I would advise, at times teachers can have different preferences, all teachers have different preferences. There's no harm in asking the teacher what they would prefer if you really want to know it further, but this is a better strategy. Do section wise questions one by one. Sir, what if I'm too lazy to do mock papers or don't have enough time? These are two very different things, my dear. Are you lazy or you do not have enough time? If you're lazy, you have to tell yourself there's no other way to get around it. You have to. Do you want to be successful? Do you want good marks? Otherwise, you accept. You go and write, take a sheet of paper, write it on it. I do not want to score good marks. I am lazy. Put it up on your desk and forget about it. It's okay. Because that is a life that you've accepted for yourself, that I am lazy, I'm not going to perform, I do not want to be successful, I do not want to do well in life. That's the choice that you have to make. But if that is a choice you do not want to make for yourself, if you truly want to be successful, if you want to do well, you have to get over the laziness yourself. No one else can help you, right? One thing which I had explained last time, the Pomodoro technique. For those of you who feel it is difficult to sit for long stretches of time on big projects, start small. Start with a 30-minute time frame. Set the timer. I'm going to just sit down and do this for 30 minutes. That's it. Do not worry about how big the project is, how big the paper is. Say, I'm going to do this for 30 minutes and then take a 5 minutes break. Then you come back and do it for another 30 minutes. Then you come back, take a break again, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Come back, another 30 minutes. That way, if you're really, really lazy, slowly you will start doing small chunks, and then you can, in the next session, you can increase that 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes, and the next session you can increase it to 1 hour, and slowly you will get into the groove, right? But all of you have enough time. Find the time. Trust me, make the time. This is the final lap of the race. This is the grand finale. We got to do it. We owe it to ourselves. All right. Next year onwards, competition is getting tougher. Enough of us lying in the shadow of the pandemic and getting easier papers. Your teachers are not going to give you easy papers from this year or the next year onwards. So let's dust off our laziness, make the time, and do what needs to be done right now. When should we include doing sample papers in our revision schedule? So look, you are all KP students, so what you have to do is just appear for KP papers whenever they happen, as simple as that. And if you're doing that, you don't even need to solve extra papers, etc. What should I do when I can't do questions in sample papers? Should I study syllabus again? Hafsa, I will get into this. Give me a minute. Okay, let me answer this for you right now. What did we discuss? One of the most important things about sample papers is they should improve your subject knowledge, right? You have to identify your weak areas. You have to know, okay, which brings me to my next point actually. Identify weak areas. Hafsa, you move me to my next section, which is the next purpose of writing mock papers is to identify weak areas. So you're being very honest when you say I could not do some questions in the sample paper. Now, what is the typical strategy most students tend to follow when solving mock papers? Let's say they will come to the coaching center or they will go to their school, they will write a mock paper, they will give it for evaluation, and then they get back the mock paper, they see their marks, they find out, okay, how much did Shreya get, how much did Rohan get, how much did Raj get, and that's it. You just crib and cry, oh, I lost these 5 marks, oh, I lost these 2 marks, etc. And then the paper goes into the bin. Tell me, will this ever improve your subject knowledge writing papers like this? Will it? Tell me please, will it? Okay, somebody says we should rewrite it. Not really. I do not want you to rewrite your mock papers, but there is something else that you need to do. There's something else that you need to do. What should you do when you get your solved mock papers back? Okay, identify your mistakes, find out your mistakes, look, analyze it, find your mistakes. We should find out, yes, Hanumantram says we should find out where we have made mistakes and then go and correct them, right? So how do you go and correct them? How do you go and correct them? You identify, I made mistakes, I could not solve this question, I lost marks in these areas. That means these areas are my weak areas. Every paper you should be able to identify what are your weak areas, so that you can then go back and learn those areas again, correct those mistakes, and you do not repeat those mistakes again in the next mock paper or in the school exam or in the board exam, whatever you're writing. You have to make sure that every mock paper improves your subject knowledge. That is what I meant earlier when I said improves your subject knowledge. There are two phases when you write mock papers which improves your subject knowledge. Phase 1 is before the paper, because you are preparing for that paper. Obviously you are revising your chapters, so your subject knowledge gets better. But a better improvement happens after you get back your mock paper. You identify these weak areas where you made mistakes or you could not solve certain questions, because that throws up clear answers to you that, oh my God, these are the topics that if they come in the final paper, I will tend to lose marks in these topics. So find out, make sure you analyze your test papers, you spend a few minutes on every test paper, and then you go back and you make sure that you remove those weaknesses, remove those hurdles which are going to get you your best marks. This is a very important purpose of mock papers which most of us tend to ignore at times. There's no use, again I keep telling students, there's no use of writing 10 mock papers, 15 mock papers, 20 mock papers, paper after paper, if every paper you're not analyzing and improving from it. That is super important, because if you just write paper after paper after paper, it will boost your exam skills, but it will not boost your subject knowledge. Do you all agree? Yes or no? Give me a yes if you guys agree, or a no if you do not. Cool. Sir, if I do bad in exams, how do I avoid mother's chappal? No one in the world can avoid mother's chappal, my dear. If your mother has decided to take it out on you, you are done. Understand one thing, your mother does not feel happy about giving you that slap or that slipper or whatever that is. She does not feel good about it, but she does it because she genuinely cares for your happiness, for your well-being, for your joy. That's why there's no one who loves you more than your parents. You are teenagers, you may think otherwise at times, that, oh guys, I'm the rebellious one and my parents, I don't like my parents, or I'm not happy that they control me, they tell me to do this, to do that. Remember, they have nothing to gain, nothing to gain. They're only doing this to make your lives better, because they have seen life many more decades than you. And they want you guys to do better than what they have done. Nothing pleases the parent more than their children doing better than them. So give them that benefit of the doubt. All right, when they get after you to do something or they tell you not to do something. All right, so let me quickly look at some questions that you guys have asked so far. Yes, Parvati, in boards, prefer to go question wise. Board teachers have to check a lot of question papers in a very short span of time. So the more structured you are, the better it is. Hiba sir, isn't NEET getting easier and easier? Hiba, let me give you an idea. NEET could be easy It's not getting much easier. It was only easy for the last 1 or 2 years because of the fact that there was the pandemic. It is going to get tougher going forward. But your competition is not, your question should not be is NEET easy. Your question should be, is the competition getting any lesser? And the answer is no. Understand this. In the NEET exam, in the NEET entrance exam, for those of you who do not know, who are younger grade students, let's say you do not know, NEET is the entrance exam for getting into a medical college. In the NEET exam, there are 60,000 medical seats, okay, 60,000 college seats for medical students. In order to get into these 60,000, how many students are competing? Do you know that? Almost 1.5 million students are competing. That is a selection rate of not even 5%. That means 1 out of 20 students has a chance to get into a medical college. That is how much the competition is for medical college seats. So there is intense competition. So even if the paper is easy, remember the seats are only this much. It's going to be easy for everyone. Just because the paper is easy does not mean in an entrance exam. That is the difference from entrance exam and boards. In an entrance exam, if the paper is easy, it's easy for everyone. And if the paper is difficult, this is, if you flip the coin around, this is also a very interesting point. Even if the paper is difficult, you should not get bothered. Why? Because it's going to be difficult for everyone. Your job is not to score the highest marks in the paper. Your job is just to be in these students, out of these students. It's like a competition, it's like a race, right? Your job is not to finish this race in the shortest time. Your job is to make sure you are ahead of others and you will get your medical seats or engineering seats or whatever is it that you are after. When are online students going to have mock tests, physical mock tests? Shrey sir will answer that question. I'm sure online students have physical mock tests as well, but if you're not having them, we'll make sure, I assure you, Shrey sir will plan these tests for you guys and KP will plan these tests for you guys and we'll conduct these tests very, very shortly for you guys as well. All right. Online students are as much students of KP as anyone else. So if there's anything which you want extra, just like physical students, please let us know. Should we Nahda, Dubai students get together and they ask some really difficult questions, huh? Should we, and I have to think about them, should we compromise our health, sleep in order to achieve mental stability? You are never going to be able to achieve mental stability by compromising your sleep. You can achieve mental stability by staying away from phones, video games, TV, and other kind of distractions and all these dopamine inducing notifications, WhatsApps. If you shut those out, you're going to get far more mental stability instead of taking away from your sleep. So you need 6, 7, 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I would say everyone needs good quality sleep. So please focus on getting good sleep. Alright, so I'm going to continue with my session. You have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, I'll not be able to take all of them. Which is more useful to solve previous year papers of sample papers for 12th boards? I would definitely go for previous. If you only have limited times, I would go about solving last 10 years previous year papers. That is more relevant than solving only mock papers. Sir, which section to start the math paper? Look, my strategy is I will always start from the beginning, but if you feel more comfortable, you can start from the last section as well. The thing is, personally, if you ask me, I feel more confident if I have completed 2 marks questions and I've already completed by the time half time is over. I've already completed 60, 70%, 80% of the questions. I feel good about it. But if I start from the end and I'm doing 5 marks questions, by the end of 1 hour, I probably have done only 6 or 7 questions and that gives me the jitters. That makes me nervous. I would start from the first question itself in the math paper. All right, okay, moving on. Moving on, guys. Yes, this is very important. This is the 5th purpose of solving mock papers. Familiarize with all types of questions from exam point of view. This is super important. It's important that you know, and somebody asked for PYQs just a minute back. Very important to go back and check in the last 10 years. lay your hands on whatever PYQs you can find. Make sure you have gone through all kinds of PYQs and there's not a single question out of PYQs that you have not been able to solve. This is super important. There's a very high probability that questions get repeated, and this is something that we tell JEE students, NEET students, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all kinds of students for school exams as well as entrance exams. Always make sure you have gone through as many previous year questions as possible and you have made sure that you will nail every single one of them if they were to come across in the final paper. All right, okay, moving on. So what is your strategy? Let's quickly look at the strategy. We do not have time left. I'll quickly wrap up the strategy in 5 minutes. We've discussed a lot of these strategies, but let me just wrap it up into 4 key things that you have to keep in mind. Yes, number A, solve mock papers. How many mock papers you should solve? Well, I would say at least 3 mock papers per subject, but if you do not have time, make it 2, but 2 to 3 mock papers per subject. If you do not have time, there's no use of solving more than 2 to 3 mock papers per subject. This should be enough. Possibly in science and math, you may want to do a little bit more. In the other ones, you may want to do a little bit less. Vary it out, but do not solve numerous test papers. What is more important after you solve those mock papers is, we've already discussed this, please analyze mock papers, identify your weak areas, identify your mistakes, go back and correct those mistakes. There can be conceptual mistakes, so you have to go back to the concepts where you applied the wrong formula, you misunderstood the concept, go back and revise and prepare those concepts again and then solve only those questions again. You do not need to solve the whole paper again, just solve only those questions again. And the second mistakes that you can have is calculation mistakes, right? So you need to identify where you're making calculation mistakes, and you need to also try to understand, are you making these calculation mistakes again and again and again, the same kinds of mistakes? Then there's a problem which you need to address, right? By doing a few calculation based problems, etc. But it's very important that you boost your subject knowledge by analyzing mock papers. The third strategy is review previous year questions thoroughly. Guys, this is the most important strategy. You have to lay your hands on as many previous year questions as you can. KP has a lot of previous year questions. Your teachers have, your center managers have. If you need that help, drop an email to your center manager and we will arrange those papers, extra papers for you as well. We've got numerous previous year questions, and this is one of the best ways to ensure that you will ace your exam. Do not leave any previous year question papers. You do not necessarily have to solve them. You can solve them if you have a few papers. Instead of mock papers, you could solve PYQs. That is totally okay. But what is important is, if you are only going to be solving 2 or 3 mock papers and you've already done those and you have less time, you must find the time to go through these PYQs thoroughly. If you have to ask your seniors, ask your seniors. If you need to ask your teachers in school, ask them for mock papers for your school specific, but anything which is board specific, entrance specific, KP teachers will provide it to you. This is again super important. We do not need you to solve all the mock papers that you can lay your hands on. There is no way you could do it, but even if you could do it, it will not be productive, it will not be efficient, because then you're just writing pages after pages after pages. What I want you to do is, after you have done these first 3 strategies, which is solve mock papers, analyze your papers, and third is you go through all the PYQs, etc., and to identify any questions that you could not do, you make sure that you can solve it. Finally, you pick up a few mock papers and you just scan through them. You just want to identify, are there any topics or questions that I do not know? So keep a paper in front of you, go through the questions. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do this. Do this, do this, do this. Fair enough. I know this. I can do it. So that scanning of a few papers is also very important, because it will make sure that you do not forget anything. All right. So overall, this is your strategy summary for making sure that you solve mock papers like a superstar, like a super student, and you ace your exams. What are you going to do? Solve mock papers, analyze them, review PYQs thoroughly, and scan 5 to 10 mock papers. This is going to be your strategy, guys. All right. Now, I'll spend 2 minutes quickly if I can take any questions, because I've already overshot my time, guys. Is it better to do mock papers and PYQs before 4-5 days before exam? Yes, no problem at all. You can do that. So what is the best way to revise the paper after completing it in short amount of time? Just make sure that you revisit every question. If you have a lot of time left, just revisit every question, and specifically in numericals, go to a rough page and solve those numericals again to make sure that you've not made any mistake in the numerical. Because what happens is, if we have a lot of time and if we are just looking at the numerical that we have done, we can make those silly mistakes. We can be crazy enough to make those silly mistakes wherein we will see that mistake right in front of our eyes and we will still go ahead, because at times we are just lost somewhere else. So if you have enough time, all the numericals, just go and solve them again in your rough paper. No harm in doing that. You will ensure that you would not have made any mistakes. Is it possible to send PYQs for 12th? Absolutely, Ashwin. Yes, we will note down your name and we will send these papers to you guys. Where can we find past year papers? Just ask your teachers here at KP. KP shares a lot of papers with you. Okay, I'll make sure that we will check how many papers have already been sent to everyone. Although there's a team who's handling this, I'll personally look into this, make sure that enough papers are sent out to you guys. Maybe you guys have missed out on those emails. There's a lot of emails that keep coming, a lot of content. Please open your emails when they come from KP, because a lot of good quality papers are being shared with you guys. But I'll check and I'll make sure these papers are sent across to you all. Okay. All right, great, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, last question. Sir, in board exam, since the answer sheet is a booklet, which paper do I use as a rough sheet in the booklet? Just go to the last page and just do it, right? You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be neat work, right? Because you are just doing it for revision purpose. You're just checking your answers. You can just do it on the back side, and it can be in a very small space because you're just rechecking your answers. All right. Great, guys. I hope this session was useful. If this session was useful, can you just tell me in the comments? And if there was something which was not so good, something I need to improve, please let me know as well. If there's any strategy I did not cover, please let me know so that the next sessions can be even better than this. All right. God bless you all. Do well, prepare well. This is the final lap for your final exams. Do not be lazy. Being lazy did not help anyone. We are superstars. We are champions. We are KPItes. We are going to rock these exams. We are going to give it our 100%. And do not worry about the result, guys. One exam is not going to change your life. You've heard this. Yes, it is true. What is important? What is important is that you give it your 100%. Do not think about the result. Do not worry what is going to happen, what marks you're going to get. As long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I gave it my best shot. That is what you owe to yourselves. Give it your best shot. Give it your 100%. And you'll be a superstar. God bless you all. Thank you very much. See you all soon in another one of my sessions.